Good afternoon. We're going to go over the watch list for January 6th, 2020, the first full week of the trading year. The watch list is not too bad. It's pretty well balanced for bullish and bearish sentiment. So I'm going to start with Johnson & Johnson. As you can see, I got the Johnson weekly up. And usually when it gets over the 146, 147 area, it has a strong rejection. So, I like seeing it under 144. If it gets under 144, I would look for a 140 retest on Johnson & Johnson's weekly. So, definitely short side on that. Next one is Disney. Now, thing with Disney is I'm seeing a couple things. I mean, you see a head and shoulders on the 30-minute, same here on the hourly, and it gets below this middle Keltner and below 146. I think that gets below this 146, 30 area. It's going to go down and fill the gap and retest the 144.50 support. But the thing is that you got to keep an eye on too is that on the weekly is that even though I'm short bias on it, like there's it broke out right here at this 145.50 area. It broke out and it came back and retested it and bounced and stayed and closed above it on the weekly. And usually when stocks come back and retest things like previous resistance, which becomes support, it ends up being a fall through and going up. So there is a possibility that Disney could bounce, but I think it will pull back and at least fill the gap before it does. So that's what I'm looking for, to at least come back and fill the gap on the hourly before any follow through. But this will also be dependent on what happens in the market. If any surprises come up with Iran or any other political events, that it will have a strong implication on a lot of stocks, and if any stocks that are somewhat weak, they're going to be very weak if there's any political or Iran or any other events that's negative. So that's what I'm seeing on Disney. I liked it for a short little fall. Next one I have is Wayfarer. Now Wayfarer. What isn't it? Okay, there. The reason I'm short on this is that it's got this trend line right here on the weekly. Tested it, rejected, tested, rejected, tested, rejected, and we're at it again. We're gonna break through it this time. I mean, maybe the third time's a charm. So it is starting to curl right here on the weekly, but the daily, it's showing, a hidden divergence right here because you have this higher high, which is right here. Then you have this lower high, and the MACD is well over the previous. So it's got a hidden divergence showing on the daily. So that's why I'm short. You get a hidden divergence plus a strong trend line, downward pressure on Wayfarer. So that's why I'm looking at that. Next one is Win. Let's see the weekly on Win. Now when it gets up over this 143 area and it gets rejected, so I'm assuming that it's going to do the same thing. It broke out over this trend line. It has yet to come back and retest it, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does come back and retest this 120 trend line on the weekly. So that's why I'm leaning towards short on that. Next one is Nvidia. Nvidia is up into heavy weekly resistance into the 240 area, and it's the RSI is above 70. Also, you can see that. Let's see. Let's get a divergence going on right here in the weekly. You get high here, a higher high, then you're down here, you got a histogram in this. That's lower highs. Let's see, what else am I seeing? Yeah, so I'd be looking for under 234 for possible pullback to the probably the 221 area. And like I said, it's going to be depending on what happens with the market. And I mean, right here, it's just chopping kind of sideways right here, and it did it right there. So it chops and look for downside. Next one is Tesla. I don't like trading Tesla, but many in the room do. And what I'm seeing on Tesla is we have a descending wedge right here forming on Tesla on the 30-minute and the hourly, and plus it's the weekly RSI is really high, and let's see if there's seeing a divergence on the daily. Yeah, there's a slight there's nothing but divergence right here, big time. So there. So seeing divergence in Tesla, so we'll be looking for under 440 to fill the gap down to 430, and let's see, under 440 to 430 to the 410 area for a pullback on Tesla. And we also have Roku on the short side, and the reason I have Roku on the short side is that every time a stock breaks through a trend line, like I was talking about with Disney, that when it breaks through a trend line, it comes back and retests it, and if it rejects the former support area as resistance, that it's going to fall through downside. So that's why I'm looking at Roku. I'm thinking statistically more or less than anything else, because when that does happen, that's what usually happens most of the time. So that is what I'm expecting with Roku. Now, on my bullish side, I have Netflix. The reason I have Netflix is that it's got earnings coming up, and usually has a strong earnings run on Netflix. So we'll see what happens with that. Plus, you have like a cup and handle, big cup and handle, or you can even say inverted head, a weird looking inverted head and shoulders right here. There's like the left shoulder, the big head, and a little right shoulder. So, if it gets up over 337, this thing could really take off and squeeze up. So I'd be looking at it over, probably this right here, the 332.50 area, and it gets over that for a push into the resistance of the 338 for a breakout. And this will be, like I said, we'll have a huge impact what happens with the market and what goes on with Iran and Trump and stuff like that. So that will have a heavy influence. Next one is BA. Now, the thing I like about BA, I know like it looks weak. I mean, you have like it's pointing down. And you could say it has a descending wedge right there. I mean, this whole area, you could say that, especially right there. But the thing I'm looking at the most is the weekly. Right here, it bounced off this area of the 325. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, multiple times. So it could bounce here, and but if the market has a big sell-off for any kind of reason, that if it does manage to get underneath the 325, it could really sell off and get down to the 300. So I would be careful of that on Boeing, but I do like it for a bounce, for especially if it gets over the 335 into 340. I think that Boeing should be getting ready to turn around here. Target is another one that I have. Now, I know that it's got gap support right here. It didn't really test it, but it's starting to show oversold on the 4-hour, and you get some support right here in the 124. So if it does get over the 125 area, I would look for a push into the 128 or even 129, 130 area on target. So next one is FedEx. FedEx is one that's been trying to recover, and right here this is what it did. I'll pull it out. It got it broke out right here. It came back, rejected. Then it broke through right here on Thursday, and it got pulled back, and it closed above it. So it came back. It broke out of this level and came back and retested it. So like I said, when it comes back to retest the level, statistically it means it's going to go up, and it could possibly fill the gap this time. So, but I also have like a wedge right here forming on the daily. So I would be careful of that. That if it does push over the 150, let's see. If it does manage to push over 154, that the upside could be limited to the 155, 156 area because of that trend line right here. So I'd be careful of that. Not too much upside. Shack is another one. Shack has just been sitting in this like little triangle right here on the daily. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Yeah, see. In the weekly, it's this, the histogram is going up, and the max are starting to flatten out right here. So that's a good sign. But as you can see right here, it's just it's in a triangle, and if it can, you know, get over, let's see, the 60-80 area, I would look for a push into 62 to retest this 62.50 in this trend line. And if it breaks out, I mean, the breakout could be substantial. So I think Shack is definitely one to watch. I have EXPE on here. I don't. See, let me look at the daily. I didn't cross it off my list. So yeah, the reason I didn't is to get a cup and handle forming right here. I mean, if it has any momentum going up over the 111 area, and retest this 114.55. If it breaks out of this cup and handle formation, it could fill the gap. So I'm only interested in the gap fill. If it doesn't do anything, I don't care. So EXPE, I mean, Expedia. That's what I'm looking for, a cup and handle. And the last one is Facebook. And the Facebook is, I know, is overextended, and it's just like in a little upward channel. But the thing that catches my eye is it has earnings, so it could be coming up with an earnings run like Netflix. So, and I'm also seeing this big cup and handle on the weekly. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the market conditions are good. If it gets up over like the 210, we could get a push into the 220 for a earnings run up on Facebook. So. But you know, if for some reason Facebook does not get the earnings run up and it gets like below 208, I mean, I would short it to the 204, at least 204 to 202, depending on market conditions. I mean, this is a good play either way. So Facebook could be a good play either way on short or long side this week. So that's going to do it for the watch list for 1/6/2020. Should be a good week, and if you're not in the room, make sure you are. And if you're not a sub, be a good idea to be one, so you don't miss any good big plays. And I will see you next time. Thank you.